Every challenge is an opportunity for you personally to step forth into who you truly are. Have you not been living in the unknown all along? And isn't the unknown where all good things occur? Yeah, you can't take your ego with you when you expand. And so if this is true, then how do I see this challenge? How am I being invited to express from, more from, my inherent self?
I'd like to welcome to the show Bree Melanson. How you doing, Bree?
I'm good. Thanks so much for having me on.
Thank you so much for coming on. We've been trying to get this going for a little while now, so I'm glad we finally were able to lock it in.
Destiny has arrived, you know?
Yes, yes. When the perfect timing will always present itself. It will always present itself
Totally.
on the
Yeah.
universe's time, not on ours. So,
Try as you may. Yeah.
so you've been your story is pretty remarkable. You're a channel and you channel it wisdom and you consult people and you help people find their truth within themselves. But before we jump into all of the woo-woo, I would like to know what was your life like before you jumped into the woo-woo?
Well, it was kind of out of the womb.
Oh,
But
nice. I saw what you did. I saw what you did there. Nice. Very well played.
no, I mean, I do like to offer that intuition is very inherent, even just survival, skill. And so as kids, we're all pretty open, and I was, we're also like taking in so much information as kids. There's a whole world to like figure out, and so I saw things that other people didn't see. And had some experiences, but you just learn to like shelf those if they're not affirmed, and they can easily kind of like turn into fear
Hmm.
if you don't have bearings for them. So I shut off my intuition for like most of my life, just like a cool 20 years of like, I mean, I still had experiences now and then, like I would get haunted, or I would, be in I remember once I was like in the catacombs and I had this like full on, I just started bawling, and it was like I had this spiritual experience out of the blue where I was, being like a young adult backpacking through Europe. But
Hmm.
so yeah, I lived a pretty basic boo kind of life, and it was, I guess what I'll say too is like I was always really interested in the spiritual world. Like I couldn't quite shake that curiosity and that connection. And so, yeah, I think what I also like to offer is that, what brought me to where I am today was like really just saying yes to the things that lit me up. Um, but what kind of pivoted me back into the woo-woo was some like life hardship. Just, my mom had gotten cancer for the second time. And, uh, you get real spiritual real quick when you're up against life's
Right.
greatest muse. And
Yes.
so I was just kind of like, hey, buddy, how you been? And just kind of got back into conversation with the unseen in a way through
Hmm.
prayer and through, yeah, just really wanting to, yeah, I guess have hope in a greater way. Uh, so that kind of like reopened me. And then that also inspired me to do more of what lit me up. Like death is our greatest muse. And so you just get really real, and hardship comes. You're like, okay, what's important?
Hmm.
And part of that was moving to LA to pursue dance because it was a love that I had. And when I moved to LA, there was more of like a spiritual community. So I learned essentially like how to connect within and how to meditate. And I hadn't had those like resources before. Uh, and I would always hear you're a healer. And I just didn't, I thought it was like massage therapist. Like, what do you mean? I never knew it was possible because it also at the time, there weren't, I didn't see people teaching how to access the
Hmm.
ethereal. But I guess my big pivot was I was on a plane going to Mexico, and I was reading like yet another spiritual book because it's all I read. And the author was talking about having a spiritual teacher, and I just didn't know it was an option. So I was like, okay, I don't know if my mic's on at this moment, but if I'm supposed to do this work, then I need a teacher. Like, yeah, I need someone to show me the way. And then on the way home from Mexico, this woman sat next to me and she handed me her card. And I saw myself working for her in that moment. And she later invited me to take her class. And I still doubted, because at the time it didn't make any sense. It didn't like fit into the regular world
Mhm.
as, we experience as children. So um, I did it. I was able to like say yes and take the plunge. And then I just kind of started practicing and reconnecting. And I just have found that, the more that I or we lean into just the little things that light us up, like it was dance that brought me to LA that, unlocked another key. Um, and then the path is shown, or the universe essentially can provide in ways that we would have never guessed, right?
So you practicing and you're going down the spiritual path, but at what point did you start to channel? Because that being on a spiritual journey is very different than being on a channeling journey. Hearing voices in
Totally.
the head or outside the head, or having something come through you is very different than reading a whole lot of spiritual books and watching spiritual podcasts. So that's the kind of like what happened when that first happened to you on your path. Because I imagine it's jarring.
For sure. It was scary, and I was, but let's see. So the first time I experienced channeling and witnessed it, I was getting a reading from a now mentor, and she was channeling Kuan Yin. And she was like, I'm going to channel Kuan Yin. And I was like, cool, go for it. And then her voice changed and her mannerism changed. And I was like, what? And Kuan Yin looked at me and was like, why aren't you doing this? You can do this. And I just thought, like, what? Like, make a weird accent and like be like, I'm just like, what? It was so strange for me. Um, so I eventually ended up taking a class and learned from this woman that I'd known for years. And I mean, I had had experiences that kind of led up to it, like a slew of information coming through. And I will say, I was already doing readings, right? So I was already in the pool, like doing, I was more or less like doing mediumship, right? It's like I
Hmm.
kind of explain it as if you're on a three-way call and you're like, hold on, let me ask. And then you get the information and then you relay it. And then
Hmm.
channeling is essentially like, yeah, becoming the mic or the
Mm.
frequency in which the information is coming through in real time. But so I had been doing readings for quite a few years. So I'll also offer that. So it wasn't as jarring as just like walking down the street and then, having this massive shift. So the first time that I did it, the first thing I said was, "She is afraid to be wrong," and that just because I was having resistance, um, and even that just pulled me right back. Like, what do you mean she? Who are you you're talking about me? Like, so yeah, it took again just like practice and leaning in and support, but I was fascinated with it. And so I would use like ascended master cards and I would pick three and then I would just like connect with those consciousnesses. And it's still really strange to me. Like I still, it's really unique in that you have to get yourself completely out of the way,
Hmm.
um, which is like the greatest thing that we can do and also the hardest thing we can do. um, Yeah, so I also like kind of kept it quiet for many years because I thought it was, or I didn't think it was weird, but I was like, there was some part of me at least that was afraid that people were going to think I was weird. So I would
Hmm.
do it kind of like behind closed doors or like at retreat on the last day. And then I was at retreat once, and on the last day, this girl came up to me after I channeled, and she said, "That changed my life. I'll never be the same." And I was like, okay, I got to do this more because, like,
But
get Bree out of the way.
what I find interesting is that you, when you first heard a channel or saw someone channeling for you, you said,
Mhm.
do I just change my voice into a new accent and start, spewing wisdom? Is that what you're doing? Like, it doesn't make sense. And to a layman or to someone who doesn't understand what's going on, that's exactly what it sounds like. But from my point of view, or at least my understanding of it, is that to try to do a channeling session off the top of your head for an hour or two, sometimes, depending on what kind of channeling you're doing, in another voice without really breaking. It's like you can tell when it's a stream of consciousness and when you can tell when you're like, uh, um, yeah, like our human brain just, loading the next question. But when it's channeling, it's kind of coming at you like a Gatling gun, like it's and it's nonstop. So it's not even controllable in many ways. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, no, that is very accurate. I will say that, you're never completely out of control, meaning it's not like,
Oh no,
at
yeah.
least from my experience,
You're
yeah,
not
I can pull
possessed. You're not
myself.
possessed. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah. Yeah,
Totally.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're barely witnessing it, and so
Mm.
it is just this complete relinquishment. And, both kind of ways are really beautiful. Like, there's a lot of value in mediumship and getting a reading, receiving the message, and then having like the Bree or whoever it is explain, well, this is what I'm seeing, and this is kind of what it means. This is what they're showing. And it's like coming through this human filter,
Mhm.
where channeled stuff tends to be a little bit higher, or maybe somewhere that we're not living it yet, right? So they're offering a perspective that sometimes feels removed.
Mhm.
Um, but we're still able to kind of like digest and understand the information. And the more that we can like embody and ascend and grow, then the higher information can come in to wherever we can understand it or process it.
So how do you do your channeling? Like, what is your process? Are you are, and for lack of a better word, are you a trance channel where another entity kind of comes in, your voice changes a bit, your tone changes, and you kind of go off like that? Is that your version of channeling?
I do that, and I think that it feels like I can drive in different capacities. Like, I can do the
Mhm.
mediumship, or I can, like, a lot of times I'll channel right, and just like pages and pages and pages will come
Sure.
through. It tends to be a bit easier for me at this time and space. And the messages are like a little bit more poetic.
Mhm.
Um, and it happens quite fast. So that's maybe like in between mediumship and trance channeling, right? Um, and then, yeah, I have learned how to essentially trance channel. And my experience is, yeah, I don't like to think of it as, even though it kind of presents this way, as like an entity taking over your body, but
Mhm.
like more so, our bodies are energetic extensions of our soul and our consciousness. And so it feels like, and I see it as more of a getting Bree's conscious mind as much out of the way as possible and allowing for that other energy to come forth. And the way that I see it is, those like those energetic grids, those, what is it called? Taurin?
Oh yeah, the tor, yeah, the tor, the thing that comes around you. Yeah, the tor.
Yeah.
Tor or something. Yes, we know what we're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost like those lines are energetic highways of
Hmm.
like maybe intelligence. And so you're also, what they've shown is like we're also opening those in a more expansive way for that higher information to come through.
So is it kind of like a channel, let's say, as you were saying it, the thing that popped into my head is like, it's not an entity per se, it's more of a consciousness that is being channeled. And when you say the word channeled, it literally like dialing in on a radio, 101.5 is Saint Germain. And then Saint Germain is coming through. So it's kind of like you're broadcasting through you. It's not
Mhm.
like there's a fit because we're so third dimensional down here and we think of everything like that. There's an actual dude, Saint Germain. He's chilling in his purple robe, and then he's gonna like come into you like Ghost style and Whoopi Goldberg and Ghost, and then whoosh, and then you go through it. That's the more Hollywood way of looking at it. Where, as you were talking, the thing that came into my mind was like, it's a radio station, and you're channeling different consciousnesses, whether it's Christ consciousness, Buddha consciousness, or even the consciousness of a loved one or a spirit guide. Does that make sense?
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. It has been my experience with, I guess I was taught not to like channel people that have transitioned or humans or whatever in the same way, but I have always, will connect with them and do more of like mediumship.
Sure. Two different things.
And maybe that's a frequency thing. Yeah. Maybe it's like, not to say it's not possible, but maybe it has more to do with a frequency and yeah, higher consciousness coming through.
So when you decided to come out of the channeling closet and tell all your friends and family and colleagues and everyone who's ever known you, all of us say, hey guys, I'm channeling, now. And how was that to deal with on a psychological standpoint? Because like I always like to joke, it does clear a room if you're not in the right room. So how did you deal with it psychologically? Because I asked this question because I want people to understand that the journey that someone like you is taking is not an easy one, and is not like, hey, you're cool, it's a channel, everyone's awesome. And so for some it is, especially if you're surrounded by those people, but generally speaking, it's still an uphill battle most of the time. Am I wrong?
I think internally, yes. I guess I've been doing intuitive work for over 15 years. And so that was a journey, especially just with like, what was acceptable and what's acceptable now or comfortable, I should say. And so that was more of like a incremental process of learning, at first you want people to believe the way you do, and then you want to, you just try all these kind of different avenues of finding middle ground. And then I think my resonance just built to where it's like when we're fully assured in something, then we generally don't pull in the people to challenge us because we don't need to be challenged anymore. So it's really interesting to like watch my life unfold, and like it'll be like my mechanic or the lady who does my hair or just like these quote unquote random people are like on board, and it's no thing or whatever it might be. So I'll offer that. But the channeling piece, yeah, I mean, it was interesting because Gaia reached out to have me be a part of their documentary series on channeling. And at first I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. Like, oh, expansion. I was so happy. And then it was just so funny because it was like, you have to do the thing that you're most terrified of doing. You're like, I got yanked in a way of like, and now you're going to do it, on TV or on this great platform. So it was so perfect because it was like, yeah, you can't take your ego with you when you expand, babe. Like, it's not how it works. So internally, I'm still processing because and like how I look and stuff. It's not, I don't think it's necessarily cute. I don't know if I'm going to get a date. You know what So it's an infinite process. Yeah. And so I guess, saying I'm a channel, I'd have no issues with. And I've actually been practicing it. Like if I am out like at a restaurant or a bar and some guy's like, what are you girls doing? I'm like, I talk to aliens. And they're like, okay.
I mean, that's a good starting point. That's a good line. That's a good line to start with, because that will that'll weed out everything. Weed out the riffraff, as they say.
Exactly.
Now, so I wanted to do a little of a channeling session with you. But you tell me what's comfortable for you. What would you like to do? We could ask questions, and you could just tell us the answers as they come through, or do you actually want to do a full session where I'm speaking to the consciousness on the other side?
That's so sweet of you to ask. Thank you.
Of course.
Let's challenge it. Let's do, I'll get out of the way. It'll just take a second.
Okay.
So we'll channel and yeah, I'm gonna say yes to.
All right, let's rock and roll then. Let's see what happens.
Well, so they will will likely just start speaking, and then you
Hmm.
can ask questions.
Okay.
Yeah, and I know you have lots of channels on, so if they're referring to me, they will say she. They generally speak in we.
All
Second
right.
channels.
Let's do it. And does it take energy out of you, or do you get energized by it?
It definitely doesn't take energy. It yeah, it's very calming. Yeah, I would say it's more of a like harmonizing experience.
All
Yeah.
right. Looking forward to
We
it.
can talk about energy stuff, or maybe they will, and
Okay.
imbalances, but speak
Sounds
one
good.
second. But we would first and foremost like to thank you for your transmission. Yes, we are speaking of the beauty of what you call this podcast, and we would lovingly like to remind you of the energetic frequency that is transmitted not only to those who it may reach and fall upon their ears and hearts, but out into the world as, let's say, energetic healing. Yes. We also want to thank you for this opportunity and remind you that your curiosities of other dimensions, other beings, is essentially your desire to remember, to reactivate the essence of which you truly are. There is a great notion or misunderstanding that the reality in which you live in, this physical life experience as you deem it, is separate from heaven, uh, higher dimensional realities, when in truth you are reaching a time in this beautiful human experience where you are being given the opportunity to allow for that greater essence of yourself to truly be embodied within, again, what you call your physical body. Yes. So there's a great, we will say, emergence occurring. And you will notice that, let's say, uh, other beings, she likes to call them our cousins, yes, our distant cousins, uh, will begin to be in greater communication, yes, not only within channels, uh, but within your physical experience. And lastly, we are grateful, and we will get to your questions in one moment, but we want to lay the groundwork first here. That this is happening because you are calling forth your greater power, your light body here in the physical. Yes. We want to acknowledge the incredible expansion, um, awakening, euphoric emergence of what you might call heaven on earth through this um, life experience, but also more particularly in this current time for humanity. Yes. So we are in great celebration of this day, this meeting, and uh, also this incredible chapter uh, that your souls have chosen to come for. Yes.
So thank you so much for being here. My first question is, what is the biggest challenge or challenges that humanity faces in this coming raising of consciousness and this shift that is happening throughout humanity?
We would like to propose that you call these challenges your great opportunities. Yes, we understand, we are not saying that there isn't hardship and strife and struggle. Yes, but we would like to lovingly remind you that every struggle um, shows you the existence of your illusory self, yes, or your conditioned self, or the um, illusions that you are separate and that you are of only this finite self and world. So when you see that the struggles are here to truly set you free, to set you into uh, not only a more balanced collective experience, but also it is first and foremost, every challenge is an opportunity for you personally to step forth into who you truly are. Yes. It is showing you exactly and to where and to what degree you are being invited to connect more fully with your source within the source of which we are. Yes, does this make sense? We
It
will
does.
speak more specifically, but we are wanting you to see the great invitations that are occurring. And it is most easily done when you can process them within your own personal perceptions of things and your own personal relationship and experience. Yes. Because one comes to this earth to offer their healing potential and their light. She has been coming back to the intention of, I am here as a steward of God's love or source's love. Yes. And so what does that mean for me in this moment? So the challenges, the opportunities, we will say, the opportunities will continue for you to not hold to a falling structure, an antiquated way of functioning in society, and to consider, how am I looking to this external thing, person, circumstance, to determine my power, my worth, or the essence that I truly am. So there will be as many opportunities as you see fit. Yes. Just as in your personal life, your patterns, as you call them, your blocks that are reoccurring, are perpetual invitations to show up differently, to recognize the source presence that is before you and within you, asking you if you would like to become free, if you would like to remember again your truest self. Yes. So it will require a restructuring. We will say this: no matter where you stand within your consciousness on earth, you are being given the great opportunity to reconsider the reality in which you live in. Yes. You essentially are being given the opportunity to release all the things that keep you from your inherent power.
So let me ask you, how do you transcend these blocks, these traumas that we carry with us through life from childhood and other times in our lives? How can we transcend them and go beyond them so we can raise our frequency and our consciousness?
The answer is quite simple. The problem is that humans like to make it quite complicated. Yes. It may be easiest to start with the things that you have deemed as less traumatic or less big or less difficult to overcome. Yes. Only so that you may approach those other things from the same light and awareness. But what we will say is either you are functioning from the perception or the viewpoint that you are limited in nature, that you are a result of, let's say, your conditioning, or you are limited by the means that others have determined for you. So either you are coming from this egoic, illusory self, or we will say limited self, or you are coming from the essence of what you truly are, which is inherently powerful, yes, which is whole, which is truly the creative essence of source expressing in form. So when you can begin to get on board for recognizing the source that exists within all things, yes, the easier the path becomes to overcome what you have deemed as obstacles. We would like to propose that can they not be sacred as well? Yes, there's a saying of how can one thing be sacred and the other not? There is a saying that she's been using lately that has come from a great teacher on your earth, that everyone and everything is God in disguise. And so if this is true, then how do I see this challenge? How am I being invited to express from, more from, my inherent self, my most free, liberated, and powerful expression?
How can we, or what advice do you have for people who are trying to overcome the fear of the unknown, the fear of things changing too rapidly, or their life going upside down, or the economy, or the world, or an asteroid hitting us? Who knows? Whatever, that kind of fear that we have no control of, but yet kind of controls our lives.
You may not like this answer, but we will say that have you not been living in the unknown all along? And isn't the unknown where all good things occur? Yes, it is the place in which you create. Without the unknown, creation is obsolete. Yes. So it is the essence of discovery. It is the place in which you fall in love. It is the essence of being surprised and, let's say, if you consider the essence of love, you feel the essence of not knowing that such a reflection of source could occur, or feeling of elation could occur. So we are wanting you to acknowledge that you have been traversing in the unknown all along. Yes. We understand that change can be uncomfortable. But when you again realize that all things exist in the name of evolution and harmony, and it may take you a little bit of training of the mind, yes, to get on board with this. At the same time, how can you deny it when the entire universe, when life itself, its purpose is to expand, evolve, and harmonize? Yes. And perhaps spending some time today in gentle inquiry of how can I see this thing as I am deeming unwanted as the very invitation for me to understand a greater sense of whatever it may be. If you think of this, the essence of safety, what does safety allow for? It allows you to feel empowered. It allows you to make decisions from your most aligned self. Yes. So we are reminding you not to ever look at the external to assure your sense of safety, because in so doing, you forfeit your power. Yes.
How can we rebuild trust in our own intuitive abilities?
We understand also that at your current time, there is a great tendency to be pulled from your true and quiet self. Yes, we were saying there are many distractions. Yes. Your intuition is your connection to the truest part of you. Yes. So we want to propose that it is merely a quieting. And we also want to offer that this idea that could it not be, we appreciate, let's say this, we appreciate you using the word trust. Because often what we are asking is, how do I trust in myself, in my own decisions? Yes. And this is also the great invitation that is occurring. It is to choose the things that truly fulfill you, that bring life into your heart. Yes. And so in some ways, we look to intuition to assure us that we are making the right decision. But you will find that as you follow these things that bring you life energy, that make you feel alive, that make you feel in harmony with all things, the moments in which you forget the ego exists, yes? In these moments of high frequency in which you, again, are aligning with the things that fulfill your most truest heart, you have no need to access your intuition, yes? Because you are in flow with the essence of your truest intrinsic self, which is connected to the essence of creation. Do you understand what we are saying?
I do.
So we
I
are saying
do.
that one thing that can greatly reconnect you to your intuition, which is your connection to the wisdom that you are, is to do the things that truly fulfill you, your soul, your heart, your being, that give you life, that make you feel alive. Yes.
Well, then what daily practices can help strengthen our intuitive awareness?
We often recommend to her, although she does not follow it, to begin your days softly, yes, with intention. What is my intention today? What do I want? How do I want to focus? The power of my will, which is the power of creation. Yes. We don't want to propose that you must stay in meditation. This is one way of accessing the frequency of which you are. But we do recommend considering the things that in life that connect the physical with what you call the ethereal. So what are the things in this grandscape of your human experience that make you feel connected to source, that remind you that you are one with all, that help you feel open in your heart? So these can be as simple as going in a walk in nature. This can be a creative act. This can be being with animals. So what are the things that bring you in connection to source in the physical? We greatly appreciate this approach because it is less spiritual than what might be proposed. We will offer also that life is a conversation. Yes. If the essence of source lives within all things, wouldn't it then always be in communication with you here in the physical? So considering, what does it mean for me to get into conversation with life? What does it mean to allow more life to move through me? And again, you will find that intuition, which is the connection to the wisdom that you truly are, will come naturally because you are nurturing that life essence within you. Yes.
Let me ask you, why is it important to act on the first intuitive nudge from spirit?
Because there is no thought. You are sentient beings. Yes. You are receiving information at all times. So when you feel inspiration fully, you get a heck yes, as they say. Then the mind comes in and says, let's have a meeting about it. What do we think about this? What are our opinions? Yes, it is okay. The mind is an incredible tool that we will remind you exists for the ultimate expansion of this incarnation. It is a matter of learning how to work with it, yes. But as you take these jumps, you expand your reality. So we will say you shorten the distance also to your greater desires, because you are saying yes to what makes you feel alive, yes. And also you are training yourself to live more in, let's say, the intuitive flow, which is really just the flow of creation. Yes. If you look to nature, if you look to your world, do things not harmonize naturally? Yes. And so as you follow these intuitive hits, you are getting more in line with what you could also call the field. Yes. So you are activating more potentials in the field. It is hard sometimes within your current human experience, because you cannot always see what is being, the potentials that are being activated. But as you follow your heart and as you do these things, and as you follow your inspiration, you are activating potentials in the field also for others. Yes.
Well, what are practical ways that we can quit the ego's influence on our decision making and open ourselves up more to intuition?
Well, we like to propose that the more present you can become, the less presence your ego will have. Yes. So when you are fully present, when you are fully present in the moment, it is impossible for your suffering to exist. Yes. It is impossible for the opinions to take place. So again, as we have offered these things that light you up, will also get you within the present moment. Another way to, let's say, one moment. We would like to remind you that when thoughts arise and you deem them as negative, unwanted, they are coming up to be transformed. So if source is the energy that upholds all things, would it not also uphold these perceptions and thoughts? Would it not carry the light and the grace of creation? And so how is this thought coming up to be transformed? If all things truly do exist in the name of expansion and harmony, this too must be here for my greater harmony and expansion. So simply being aware that they are not working against you, but they too desire to be freed in a sense and free you. Yes. So when you look at something, she likes to offer this notion of what is true with a capital T, what is universally true. Yes. So what is universally true is aligned with the energy of creation, which is harmonious, which is expansive, which is pure, and which is unconditional. And so as these thoughts come up, you can simply ask, is this true? It is not a matter of thinking happy thoughts. Yes. It is considering, does this belief thought carry the energy of creation? Is it true? And if it is not true, what we will also offer, this is an infinite process. What is true? What is true about the circumstance? Again, when I see it from this, the essence of truth or source or soul. And you will see that you are being invited to another state of freedom and or the very resonance and perception you need to pull in your desires. Yes.
Now, what does it mean to open the ethereal body, and how can someone begin?
We appreciate this question. we would like to let everybody know that this process is already occurring. Yes. So within this great chapter that you are in with humanity, there is this emergence of, we'll say there's an opportunity of the light body entering more into what you call the physical body. This is done by the ways and everything that we have discussed so far. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You talk much about the energy or the potential frequency or resonance. We would like to remind you that your body itself is like an antenna or a resonance reader. Yes, it is your anchor. And so reframing your emotions, your emotional experiences as feedback from the field, and then following through with some of the things that we have discussed. Is this true? This feeling, this feedback that I am experiencing is in relation to something. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And most usually a perception that we are holding, letting you know where you stand in relation to source energy, to your truest you. And so as you begin to use your physical body as a tool for your ethereal body, but we would say most easily on using your body to direct you in your physical life, you begin to call forth more of what you would call your ethereal body or your light body. Yes, you are giving it more reason to exist within, again, what you call your physical world. Yes. So of course there are meditations and there are visualizations that you can do, but you must give it purpose to be. Yes.
Now, but how do energetic blockages manifest and how can we release them?
We would also like to propose again that an energetic blockage is in most ways information. Yes. It is a neutral existence, as all things. And it is the perceptions that we are holding that create our experience. So if we are experiencing an energetic blockage, again, it is letting you know that on some level you have, we will say, disassociated yourself from your source channel. Yes. Mm-hmm. So there's this notion that the body keeps score, and we will agree. But we will agree in a sense that, again, it is your greatest guide, and it is letting you know where you are holding an untruth. Yes. It is just like physical pain or, a cut or an injury. It occurs so that your attention is drawn to it so that it may heal. Yes. Mm-hmm. And so becoming curious about how is this here to create more ease and flow within me. We will use another example that isn't necessarily an energetic blockage, but yes, it is. It doesn't present as so. So when you are feeling the essence of what you call anxiety, if it is not tended to in a way of recognizing that it is feedback, yes, then it must become louder, yes. And you may have something like what you call a panic attack, yes. Mm-hmm. If still not tended to, then it becomes what you would consider a condition. Yes. So it's solidifying in a way, but what it is really doing is asking you to realign, to come home, to become present, to get off the train of thinking untrue thoughts. Often this experience of anxiety has to do with imposing timelines, or we will say that all suffering is upheld by looking to the external for a sense of worth or safety. Yes. And so even something as anxiety is a sacred call, the divine speaking through you and asking you to come home, dear one. Yes. Does this make sense?
It makes perfect sense. Now, what does it mean to tune into soul consciousness?
Soul consciousness, we are being reluctant with this because we want for you to see yourself as source. Yes. So often there is this notion of the soul being ethereal or separate. Yes. And we will ride this, idea of truth. Yes. Of what is true is harmonious, is life-giving. Yes. Harmonious to all. What is true is life-giving. It is expansive. It is open. Yes. It is what you would call high frequency. Yes. And so we want to propose that this idea of soul consciousness will resonate in the essence of what is true. We are not negating that your soul, which she likes to call your tether to source, that your soul holds great wisdom. Yes. It works through every part of your being, and you open the door to your soul consciousness or your wisdom by recognizing the presence of souls before you, or we will say source before you. So the more that you can recognize the divinity that exists within your physical presence, the greater soul consciousness you can access. Yes. Energy creates matter. Yes. So when you speak of moving into a higher frequency, it often requires a higher perception, yes, or a higher consciousness. But we cannot skip. We cannot skip ahead. Yes, it is created through resonance, and so we will just offer what is the resonance of my soul, what helps me to connect with that resonance, and what might be the consciousness of my soul if my soul is in resonance with source energy, creative energy. Yes. How would my soul see this?
And how can we learn to recognize or identify the soul's unique language or vibration?
You will notice that every thought, every conversation, every action, every intention holds a certain frequency. And so the more that you can become in tune with the energetics of what is occurring, the easier it will become for you to live more from your soul's expression. We will offer this. Your soul is the essence of you that is unconditioned. Yes, and therefore it is infinite. And so the path, in a sense, is unconditioning oneself, having fun with the process along the way, and this essentially is the only way that you ascend. Yes, it is accepting the fact that you are an eternal being here in the physical. Yes, not later, not before, although those are also true. But yes, in every moment, especially now, you're expressing as an eternal being. It can be quite fun to try on this perception. What if I am a light being? What if we are all light beings? And when you try this on, you immediately move into the energetics. Yes. Again, you begin to work more with the creative field. But we will just offer that.
And do you have any parting messages for this audience?
We were first going to just remind you that your emotions are energetic feedback. Yes, they are nothing to take hold of. They're nothing to take ownership of. Rather, they are energetic information, feedback, guiding you to experience more of your source self. But in a parting message, we simply want to be in reverence for the divine emanation that you are. We want you to step fully into who you know you have always been. Yes. We want to remind you that your desire to know the spiritual world is the desire for you to remember your inherent power as creators. We want to remind you that everything that exists within your reality and your personal story is, dare we say it, God's invitation. It is the grace. It is what you may have been praying for. And when you begin to recognize this, you almost immediately become free and align with what you might call your highest path. We want to remind you lovingly that it is all here for you, and that you are held, and that you are powerful.
Thank you so much for being here.
My least favorite part when I gotta open my eyes again. You know what? I'm gonna open my eyes and I'm gonna see God. There it is.
How are you? How are
Oh,
you feeling?
good. Good. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
that
you.
was such a beautiful session. They are beautiful energy.
Mm,
I love their energy and the way they speak, their cadence. It's very calming. Um,
mhm,
very teacher like, wise sage teacher energy.
mm,
If you need a second, drink some water. If you
mm.
need a second to recover, please do so.
I'm okay. Thank you. It's like more a light thing, and yeah, you feel like a little like you just opened your eyes and
A little lightheaded almost, or just kind of like just too much light, just
you
like when
just
you woke
woke
up.
up. You were
Yeah.
sleeping. So I was like, yeah. And you're like,
How much do you remember anything, or it's kind of like glimpses, like a dream almost?
yeah, I don't remember. I do. Yeah, it's more of a glimpse. It's like if you were falling asleep and you heard a conversation when you were
Hmm.
falling asleep, you're like, oh yeah, I heard them talking. And sometimes when I'm channel writing and I will notice my critic in the background and being like, oh, this isn't that good, or this isn't, and then I'll go back and read it and I'll just be so taken by it because I'm processing it, like Bree's processing it.
One thing I did notice that you actually do a lot of movement, kind of like the
Yeah.
circular. Now that's not, I've seen that before. There are
Mhm.
other channels who do that, but you also combine it with this almost like wave-like performance art. It must be the dancer in you. That just kind
I
of this
guess.
beautiful thing. It was beautiful.
I hate it, but I like have to surrender to it. I do see some chat like Bashar's always like this, and I'm like, yeah, good idea. Like, I'm just like, yeah, put your hands together like that. But when I let go, yeah, maybe I think it's like a translation of energy. And I think maybe it also distracts me or something. I don't know. Um,
Okay.
yeah, maybe it is the
Well,
dancer in me, you know?
maybe it is the dancer, but it was very beautiful. Just the movement. It was almost hypnotic, as like it was
Mm,
like they're kind of going in and
mhm.
out, and the hands are up and down, very synchronized. It was a beautiful session. Thank you so much for doing that for us.
Thank you.
Now I'm going to ask you a few questions I ask all my guests.
Mm.
What is your definition of living a fulfilled life?
Following your heart over your mind, I
Mm.
think. Yeah.
If you had a chance to go back in time and speak to little Bree, what advice would you give her?
Oh, that's pretty. That's a good question. So I would say it's it's gonna be a great adventure, babe. And yeah, you're gonna rip, you're gonna have fun, and don't ignore the things that you're curious about. Those are the keys to um your most fulfilled path.
How do you define God or source?
Everything.
Very common answer. And what is love?
Um, Love is the recognition of source. So yeah,
Okay.
seeing it and recognizing it before you and whatever it may be. I guess
And
like
what
the
is
felt experience.
beautiful? And what is the ultimate purpose of life?
I think individually, as humans, it is to unleash our most intrinsic self, like our freest, purest self. Because within that is, it's source is coded within our like most pure essence. Um, and so it is the answer to all things, right? To collective harmony. And I think it can be hard when we see so much going on in the world.
Mhm.
But our most healed self or our truest self really does set the world's healing in motion. And it's like, you can think of it as like, that's sources coded within you through that. And so the more that we can kind of unleash and let that part of ourselves rip, then
The better.
the, the better. Yeah.
And where can people find out more about you and the amazing work you're doing in the world?
Thanks. My website, I have if you sign up for my mailing list, I send out infrequent support. I try to send out like, you know, recent channel information that comes in, and then a lot of resources to tap in, guided processes and meditations. So my website's a good place to start. I have a free intuitive training on there where you can kind of begin to tap in, and some larger coaching programs and just like smaller offerings depending on how deep you want to go.
And that website is
Oh, sorry, my name, Bree
okay.
Melanson. That's Bree. I'm like, how intuitive are you guys? First test. Um, yeah, Bree, and Melanson, Melanson. Yeah, if you sign up for my list, you get like a free soul manifestation process. So yeah.
Awesome. I'll have it the link in the show notes as well. And Bree, do you have any parting messages for the audience?
Hmm, that you came. I'm gonna cry because I'm a crybaby. And they're always like love tears.
Yeah.
But yeah, that we really came at this time with great intention. And again, not to like save the world, but
Mhm.
really to be stewards. Um, and so I just really acknowledge everybody that's here doing this thing. And that, if you are, I had a horse tell me this once, and it's really stuck with me, is that uh, leaders are acutely aware, and meaning your sensitivities, your ability to see beyond what's the surface, really makes you a leader. And if you feel that you are an exception to the majority. It's because you're here to play an exceptional role. And I don't offer that in a way of like, I think sometimes we lean too much into like, what's my purpose or finding your purpose. And again, it's really just you being your fullest you, and that your healing really does set the world's awakening and healing in motion. So no small feat, no small purposes. And I just, want to acknowledge, and remind you that like your God is God and you're God. And we're
Awesome.
having a good time. We can have a good time.
Bree, it has been such a pleasure having you on the show today. It was such a beautiful channeling session as well. And I really hope that this interview and this conversation helps people who watch it for the first time and watch it years from now. So I appreciate you and everything you're doing to awaken the planet. Thank you.
Same. Right back at you. You're really playing your part. Yeah. Thank you for being such a mic.
Thanks for watching. Click on one of the videos below to continue your journey, and don't forget to subscribe.